Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm Scott Beadle, in for Ann Emanuel. Members of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, will be receiving maximum benefits for the month of December, but due to a scam, some recipients could find less than a penny in their accounts. Our Maggie Hall reports.
The USDA is currently warning people against SNAP scams happening all across the country. From Oklahoma to right here in New York, people are going to pay for their groceries and then finding that their SNAP funds have been completely drained from their accounts. SNAP, which stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is what used to be known as the food stamp program. It helps people obtain the essential food products they need for themselves and their families. These SNAP cards can be used at most grocery stores. Dozens of families in New York have fallen victim to these scams, and right before the holidays. Scammers have been using two methods to steal these funds: skimming and through phony text messages. Skimming is when thieves place a device on a retailer's card swiping machine to copy card information. The USDA encourages folks to keep their PIN and EBT card number secret. Check your EBT account for unauthorized charges, immediately report any unauthorized charges, and check card reading machines for anything suspicious overlaid or attached to the card swiper. Additionally, do not share your personal information with links provided by text or email. If you believe you have been a victim of one of these scams, contact your local SNAP office immediately. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Corning.
And speaking of scams, be aware of this new scam within a scam occurring in Tompkins County. According to the New York State Police, a caller poses as a state trooper and calls their targets. The scammer then informs the victim that they have fallen victim to a scam and requests information from that individual. However, this is all a hoax, despite the caller ID presenting as Tompkins County 911. If you do receive one of these calls, do not give out any personal information. Instead, immediately contact your local police department's non-emergency number and report it. Medical sharks were swarming for an innovative care program from a Guthrie cardiologist. Big Fox's Josh Feldberg spoke with the doctor about the award-winning idea.
The New York chapter of the American College of Cardiology held a Shark Tank-style competition at their conference in New York City earlier this month. Guthrie cardiologist Dr. Saurabh Sharma's idea for a drive-through cardiac care program took second place in the innovative care delivery category.
I was actually dying to share this idea for quite some time, and I found this wonderful opportunity.
The idea came from Dr. Sharma's desire to help elderly congestive heart failure patients who have to visit the hospital frequently.
They have to get inside their car, drive up here, find a parking spot, get out of their car, get to the hospital building, find a wheelchair, wait for the elevator, and come to my office in order to have a visit with me.
Dr. Sharma said that his visits with patients may only end up being 10 to 15 minutes before they have to go through that whole process again on the way out.
My idea is to have maybe an area in the parking lot, let's just to start with, have a space for 5 or 6 cars as a waiting area. We will have one PSS who will check in these patients in the waiting area. Then the cars is going to move, sequentially from one spot to another.
Patient convenience is the most important factor for the idea, according to Dr. Sharma. With a drive-through system, most patients won't even have to leave their car. Most cars have features where patients can recline their seats similar to medical chairs and receive the same treatment.
I'm hoping to present this idea to our senior leadership team and probably get some support from them, and hopefully we should be implementing this idea in the near future.
Josh Feldberg, Big Fox News, Sayre.
Some additional affordable housing is coming to Elmira. Arbor Housing will redevelop 2 vacant buildings on East Church and William Street. These buildings will be transformed into 58 low to moderate income apartments. The projects will also focus on keeping parts of the original woodwork and historic details of the buildings. A groundbreaking is set to be held before the beginning of 2023, and Big Fox will be there to bring you all the updates. Title 42 was used to prevent migrants seeking asylum from entering the U.S. in order to control the spread of COVID-19. But now, more than 2 years after the policy was issued, it faces an uncertain future. Ted Lindner explains.
The future of Title 42 remains in limbo, and so do the countless migrants waiting at the U.S.-Mexico border.
We want to know what will happen to us. They don't let us through, and we're here freezing to death.
This after more than a dozen GOP-led states requested the Supreme Court keep the Trump-era policy in place after it's set to expire Wednesday. Back in 2020, former President Trump imposed the rule, letting officers along the border turn migrants away to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Since March of 2020, migrants have been denied the right to seek asylum at least 2.5 million times.
They're not just leaving so that they can get a few thousand more dollars a year at a job or buy a nicer car. They're leaving because their lives are usually threatened.
The Department of Justice, meantime, requesting a temporary delay on the expiration. The Biden administration also vying for a delay, asking the Supreme Court to keep the policy in place until after Christmas, giving officials time to transition back to pre-pandemic border policies.
We will go back to Title VIII, which allows for a process to make sure that people can have their own asylum claims heard.
Meanwhile, in border towns like El Paso, Texas, food banks already helping to feed migrants are preparing for an even larger influx of people should Title 42 be lifted.
We are hearing from the federal government as well as local municipality and county governments that they are expecting 5,000 to 6,000 migrants a day coming across our border needing support. It could be as high as over 10,000 a day.
Ted Lindner, Fox News.
Pharmacies will be limiting children's pain medication purchases as respiratory illnesses continue to rise in the U.S. CVS has announced a 2-product limit online and in stores, while Walgreens is limiting customers to 6 purchases online, but it has not set a limit in stores. The CDC says respiratory viruses, such as the flu, RSV, and COVID-19, are at high levels nationwide, and hospitals are seeing high numbers of patients. Last month, the FDA warned of an amoxicillin shortage, which is often prescribed to treat bacterial infections in children. Your complete forecast is next. Plus,
plastic is on the menu this holiday season. I'm Marianne Rafferty with a look at a new study citing just how much microplastic could be in your Christmas dinner. Coming up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, I hope you had a wonderful winter solstice, as today is the day that had the least amount of daylight, and now we'll gradually, very small, gain some of that daylight as we step into the rest of December as well as January. You start to make some bigger climbs of daylight once we head closer to about March when we hit that spring equinox. But we'll definitely get the reminder that winter is here, especially by the end of the weekend. However, we're going to have a warmer start to a very complex system that will be moving in. We stay quiet through the overnight as we drop into those mid-20s, and starting tomorrow, especially as we step into the afternoon, we will be bringing in a system that is going to be mainly a rainfall start. There may be a little bit of wintry mix at onset just due to overnight temperatures dropping to about 25. There will be that window that if precipitation moves in before the temperatures reach 32, might have a little bit of a wintry mix or maybe even some wet snowflakes, but then we will turn to a steadier rainfall that will continue even into early Friday morning. But throughout this entire system, note that we are going to deal with also some blustery winds. Those will start as we head into Thursday evening, getting up to 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts, but then the strongest of the winds, even exceeding 60 miles per hour, could be with that frontal system that passes on by early Friday morning, where we'll watch those temperatures plummet behind that frontal system, and we'll see a quick transition over to some snow showers, but not expecting significant snowfall accumulation. So rolling into that forecast here as we step into the morning hours, there's that first push coming just around the lunch hour. Again, there could be a little bit of some of that wintry mix before we turn to mainly rain showers, even moderate moderate rain showers possible as we step through the overnight. And then here's the frontal system that we'll watch. Again, a little bit of a rainy start before the cold air will push in by Friday mid-morning, where we'll get a quick few inches of some snowfall. So as for rainfall, the rain is pretty steady overall, getting at least upwards of an inch. Inch and a half can't be ruled out, but note that there is some snow equivalent with these numbers in place, as we are expecting, again, maybe a few inches of some snowfall. Nothing looking totally excessive as we get up to about an inch to 2 inches. But note that with those rapidly dropping temperatures with that frontal system from Friday morning into Friday afternoon, note that there might be a flash freeze, which means that wet surfaces could freeze very quickly, meaning roadways, sidewalks, even freezing your door or car doors closed. So something that could create some really significant hazards on Friday. So Thursday, again, with it mainly being a rainfall potential with warmer temperatures, not too big of hazards, just the wind that you will battle in that's from the south keeping us warmer. We'll have those winds get up to at least 25, 35 miles per hour to start. Strongest will come on Friday, where those temperatures edge towards 40s ahead of that system and then rapidly cool behind that system, as we'll see that system's going to bring in then the snowfall and more of those stronger winds, which could blow around some of that snowfall if it does get a little bit light and powdery there at the end. And then we have some cold conditions taking over for the holiday weekend. Single-digit low temperatures, high temperatures holding into the teens even through Christmas Day, and then we'll make some gradual improvements next week.
More layoffs in the tech world. Nike boosts its outlook while FedEx earnings fall, and a roadster from a classic 80s comedy rolls off the auction block. CJ Papa has today's business briefs.
Tesla announces a new round of layoffs coming next quarter. The electric car maker will also re-implement its hiring freeze that began in June of this year. It's unclear exactly how many employees will be let go in this round of layoffs. The announcement coming after Tesla's stock dipped 8%. Nike had a better-than-expected fall quarter. In North America, its sales were up 30%, helped by discounts. The sportswear and athletic shoe giant says its inventory challenges are resolving, though levels remain elevated. Nike was bringing in more money than a year ago, and it offered a more optimistic forecast for its business. FedEx is continuing to see weak demand for packages. Its profit declined in the recent quarter, though FedEx shares are gaining because the company revealed plans to shrink its operation and says its cost-cutting has been helping. And the cherry red Ferrari featured in Ferris Bueller's Day Off sold for $337,000 at an auction. Life moves pretty fast, but the famous car doesn't, since it can't even drive. And no, the vintage car replica is not the same one Cameron Fry caused to crash through his father's garage in the 1986 classic film. That's business. I'm CJ Papa.
Plastic is on the menu this holiday season. Marianne Rafferty takes a look at a new study shedding light on just how much microplastic winds up on our food and then in our stomachs.
Plastic could be one of the main ingredients in your upcoming holiday meal. That's according to researchers in England studying microplastics, tiny pieces of plastic debris measuring in at less than 5 millimeters. In the experiment, scientists prepared 2 similar Christmas dinners featuring a roast chicken and various sides.
We looked at a plastic wrapped dinner and a non-plastic wrapped dinner, and we cooked them to see how many microplastics were in them.
And the results may shock you.
We found 7 times more microplastics in the wrapped dinner than the non-wrapped dinner. About 55,000 particles in the non-wrapped dinner and about 230,000 in the wrapped dinner.
But it's not just on Christmas. Researchers say if you eat one pre-made meal wrapped in plastic every night for a year, you'd be ingesting about 10 grams of plastic.
That's the equivalent of 2 of these a year.
And based on how prevalent plastic is in our daily lives, scientists say you may never be able to avoid eating it.
That's because there's so many microplastics in the air and in the soil. But also if you look at the agriculture, the plasticulture, which is the amount of plastic that goes into our farmlands, there are huge concentrations of microplastics in our soils. In fact, more than there is in the ocean.
Microplastics have already been found inside samples of human blood and various organs. Scientists say there's not enough research to identify if it's causing any health problems.
A report cites an astonishing number of packages stolen from porches. It's that time of year. Online home security and safety company Safewise says about 260 million packages were stolen away from consumer homes over the last year. Now that's up from 210 million in 2020. It's estimated $19.5 billion is lost in annual value from the thefts. It's recommended that homeowners get text about the timing of deliveries, have neighbors pick up packages, schedule deliveries when you'll be home, or pick up packages from parcel services. New data shows giving to charities increased on the National Day of Giving. Mission Wired says digital fundraising on Giving Tuesday, the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving, rose 21%. The marketing provider reported more than $5.7 million was donated to its nonprofit partners. The number of donors also increased by 19% from the previous year. An average of $77 was donated in 2022, and that's compared to $58 over the past 10 years. Still ahead, a new study says thinking positively for just a few minutes daily can improve your long-term mental health. How this is helping healthcare workers deal with burnout, coming up. Researchers are looking into new ways to fight burnout, and one possible solution, well, is simpler than you might think.
Basically, they're encouraging people to take a quick break from their busy day in order to think about something that is positive in their life. That could be something beautiful like a sunset. It can be remembering a time that you were kind to somebody else. Ultimately, this research looked at a group of people that have been particularly busy over these past couple years, healthcare workers.
2 out of 3 of our colleagues are drowning in the water right now, and they need a life preserver.
Many healthcare workers feel burnt out, according to Dr. Brian Sexton of Duke University, especially after a busy couple years of pandemic care and now a nasty mix of COVID and flu cases.
Gratitude is a renewable resource like solar power. You can tap into it whenever you need to.
Sexton created a handful of tutorial videos explaining simple ways to think or act in positive ways. The study's participants applied the tips to their everyday work life. One lesson encourages you to remember a time you were in awe of something beautiful.
Awe expands your sense of time. You will feel like you have more time available.
This might sound simple, but the data says that it works. Researchers showed the lessons to 480 healthcare workers and then measured their emotional exhaustion in the following months. After 1 month, burnout improved, and then it kept improving for a year, which is when the study ended.
I think Dr. Sexton's work really helped me to do is to try to add kind of micro meditations, essentially, in the middle of all of my work.
Dr. Jeannie McPeak-Hins participated in the study, and she says many doctors don't have time to take care of themselves, but they really should, because that stress should not be passed on to the patients.
Emotional exhaustion is directly linked not just to medication errors, delays in delivery of care, communication breakdowns, disruptive behaviors, and risk-adjusted mortality rates.
Now, although the study focused on healthcare workers, Dr. Sexton says that these tools can apply to anybody in any profession who's feeling burnt out.
Your U.S. Mail Service is plugging into the next generation of trucks for a greener delivery. The U.S. Postal Service is investing $9.6 billion to switch the postal fleet's 220,000 trucks from gas to electric. At least 66,000 trucks will be battery electric vehicles. $3 billion in funding comes from the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act. The mail service hopes to be all electric by 2026. The U.S. Postal Service is currently running at an operating loss, reporting an adjusted loss of $473 million for the fiscal year 2020 in November. Well, here's some good news. More people are feeling upbeat. Consumer confidence rose this month more than expected to a reading of 108.3. It's a 9-month high. Those surveyed, they were more optimistic about the current state of the economy and had improved expectations for the future. Stay with us. We'll have more after the break. And we want to leave you with a sweet smile. People in Sweden put their baking and decorating skills to the test in the 15th annual Christmas Gingerbread House Competition. The competition was held at the Stockholm Museum of Architecture and Design. The theme for this year's event was Around the Corner. Many of the entries use literary themes, including the winner, which was based on Astrid Lindgren's Pippi Longstocking. Other entries included robots, Ferris wheels, and a gingerbread version of Pac-Man. I'm Harriet Wallace. Thanks so much for watching.